To introduce you to Todd Eury, who's the founder of the Pharmacy Podcast Network with over 82,000 listeners. It is by far the most successful venue in our industry, and you should, if you haven't, become a member, sign up at thepodcast.com. And with that, I'll introduce Todd Eury, who will introduce the panel, and please feel free to ask questions. That's why we're here today, exchange information. And these folks behind me are giving their time. They're amazing people, very, very, very intelligent and very experienced. So please take advantage of that, and thank you for coming.
Welcome to Charlotte, NCPA 2021. We are finally back. We're seeing each other face to face. I am so tired of Zoom meetings. I think I do between 3 and 6 a day, and I'm zoomed out. So seeing your faces, seeing people that I know and I love, and people being able to hug people again and shake your hand, this is very special. And it's special for me to be here. You are my heroes. Pharmacists don't have enough advocacy. Pharmacists don't have enough people that believe in them. But it's because I've been soaking in data for years, starting out in institutional pharmacy and understanding the impact that pharmacists have on patients' lives. And I've learned from people like Bill Holmes and the RxSafe team of what adherence actually means. That's why we're here today. We're not here to glorify each other. We're here to learn about patient care and how to be better patient caregivers. And there are some of the most interesting and innovative patient caregivers and providers here on this panel today. Patients are their worst enemy. They don't stay adherent on medications. They go back into the hospital, the emergency room, and they cost themselves triple, quadruple the money to get back on track and back on health. So the relationship that you have with the physician and you as the pharmacist in your community, you're keeping your community safe, you're keeping your communities healthy. And when I think of adherence and I think of what all this starts out, I think of the individual that you know personally. CVS doesn't know them personally. They may know the pharmacist, maybe the shift pharmacist that's being burnt out right now by metrics. They certainly don't know anybody at Amazon. They know you. They know your face, they trust you, and trust is the factor to adherence. And I trust technology in the hands of you, the providers in your community. And I am so excited to introduce a panel today that really understands this firsthand. They understand it of what it was like before they had the technology and what it's like now that they have the technology and what that means for them to keep their patients healthy and to increase the profits of their pharmacy and to keep going and to keep marketing it and keep driving it. How many times do you have to be told something before it sinks in? I'm going to introduce first Lisa Fast. If you'd introduce yourself and a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your pharmacy and your business. We'll start with Lisa, and then we'll go right down the line of the panel.
Sure. Dr. Lisa Fast, I am with Diversify Rx, and I also own 3 pharmacies, 2 in Louisiana and 1 in Texas. I've been a pharmacy owner since I opened my first startup pharmacy back in 2005, and I also do a bunch of consulting on helping other pharmacies be profitable.
I'm Jana Bennett, and my husband and I own the Medicine Shop in Sherman, Texas. We've had it for about 18 years, and we owned a smaller store just up the road for about 12 years and sold that to our employee pharmacists a couple of years ago, but we enjoy taking care of our community.
I'm Thomas Mcdowell. I operate Mcdowell's Pharmacy with my father. I also own another independent pharmacy, Mcdowell's Pharmacy and Rocky Mount Medical Park Pharmacy in Eastern North Carolina. And so just down the road, we were able to drive here, which was nice.
I'm Easton Bryant. I have North Century Pharmacy in Columbia, Kentucky, so I'm in rural Kentucky. We've been open about 7 years now, and do a little consulting on the side as well.
I'm Tracy Bayer at Hillcrest Pharmacy in Vernon, Texas. Small town, about 10,000 people. My husband Adam and I have taken that on over 10 years ago. We're both pharmacists, and we do enjoy the small town and getting to take care of people in Vernon.
My name is Tim Mitchell with Mitchell's Drugstores in Neosho, Missouri, southwest Missouri. And we have 3 community stores as well as a long-term care pharmacy and a specialty pharmacy. We love taking care of our community. Neosho's a town of about 13,000 people. We serve a lot more people in our area, pretty rural area. So.
Excellent. Tim, I'm going to start with you.
Sure.
Just the general question, the theme of today, and that is, how does adherence packaging improve adherence for patients?
You know, I had someone ask me just out in the hallway a little while ago, does this send you business? And, you know, I can't tell you it's sending me business, but it's making me more efficient at being able to take care of the people and be able to do things that I feel like benefit our patients as well as things that will benefit our business in the long run. The adherence, of course, does help us with hopefully lowering DIR fees. Unfortunately, I can't tell you that all my DIR fees have ever been decreased. If so, I would think there would probably be a mistake. But that being said, I feel like our patients, we're actually utilizing our technicians to run our med adherence packaging program, and they are catching things that wouldn't have been caught before. And so this actually gives us the opportunity. We make phone calls on every single one of the times that we fill, and so it does create a better experience for the patients. We rarely get any complaints from patients that are on our med adherence packaging.
Lisa, we all know in this room and on this panel that we believe in technology, we believe in independent community pharmacy, but I want to know from your perspective what the patient thinks about packaging and about this adherence packaging, this Pack My Meds box. Like, how are they receiving that?
I think they receive it as eliminating confusion. I think they see it as an opportunity for them to get better, but without having to think about it. I mean, let's face it, we're all lazy underneath. Like, we want the easiest road possible. And currently right now I'm living with my parents because we're doing a house remodel. And so I'm getting to see firsthand, and they're not very old, but they're on some medications, and I see firsthand kind of that confusion. You know, my mom yells, "Hey, Carl, did you take your lisinopril?" I don't know, it's still, you know, oh yeah, the pill's on there. Like, and it's kind of funny, and it's really gotten me behind the scenes to see how patients, and so I actually asked them about it because we had some of the RX packs from the Pharmacy Profit Summit left over, and I said, hey, would you guys like this? You know, and I talked about it, and I had this really interesting conversation with my parents as both patients and as just the general regular consumer that's probably out there. And so we're currently working to get all of their medications because they just moved from out of state and all of that stuff, but to find the local pharmacy that has the Pack My Meds, because they're like, oh my gosh, that would relieve so much stress. And so I do think they see it as a service and as a way, as a journey for helping them with their health and eliminating that confusion, because I think we don't realize how easily and on a daily basis our patients are confused. And because they don't speak about it. My parents don't say, my pharmacist, oh, every day I have to remind my husband to take his pill. Like, they don't say that. So I think we forget all of those little daily things that happen. So
if any of you at any time want to ask a question of any of the panelists, I want hands up so we can be interactive, just as a follow-up to anything that's being said or asked. Easton, how do you increase adherence using this packaging? How is it used as a business development tool for your pharmacy, whether that be introducing it to doctors or the introduction to your patients?
We make a big deal about it. So like anybody that shows up that's going to be a new patient, we tell them, hey, we're so glad to have you. By the way, we have this service for you. So we're not shy about it. We are packaging around 300 patients now, which for us, it winds up being about half of our total prescription volume. So we're not shy about it at all. We know that, especially someone coming from a chain store or Walmart, this is a complete 180 experience from what they've been used to doing. Standing in line, you know, Mrs. Jones takes 5 prescriptions. She's either sending somebody from her family or herself. She's standing in line 5 times a month, fighting that battle just to get those 5 meds. Like, how could this be any more different than that? We're managing the refills. We have somebody dedicated to her cause, her profile. And every single month we're working ahead and it's ready for her, and we're calling her as well. So it couldn't be any more different, and we assure them that they're going to be taken care of, and you're in for a treat, basically.
Lana, you were open to telling me about your medicine shop with you and your husband runs. What's the communication like between you, your patients, with regards to the packaging, and also your physician partners that are out there in your community?
So the interesting thing when you start packaging someone is that you have a bunch more conversations with them. So what we're realizing is that, every month we're having these pretty detailed conversations about, what problems are you having? When are you taking this? It's not just the first time when you get them on, although that is very involved. And physicians love that. They love that they know that they can send people to us and that we're going to sit down and go over everything and get them set up. And every month we're going to continue to have this conversation. It just makes your patients feel so special. I mean, even though you've taken great care of them all of these years, going this extra step makes them feel just like they will never leave you. They will never go back to bottles. They will never go anywhere else because you have taken this time to spend it with them and really get them where they need to be.
Thomas, same thing, because I've talked with you before. You've been on the podcast before, and you shared with us your relationship with your prescribers and how this packaging really makes an impact from a reputation perspective. Can you kind of elaborate on that and share with the team that's here today?
Sure, and we're at about close to 250 patients per month. Small town, 1,500 people. We don't even have a stoplight in our town. Park in the middle of the street too, which is kind of weird. But we really, like Easton said, we really show it off. We want people to see it when they come in. I set it, a pack at our immunization table, and so we want the patients to see it. We want word of mouth to go and make its way throughout our area. And it's advertising whenever you get that box out into the community. We branded our boxes. We call it Mac Pack, which is a play off Mcdowell for Mcdowell's Pharmacy. And also we made an acronym and call it Medication Adherence Collaboration. That's the MAC part of it. And when we take that to the prescribers and show them that service, they love the pack. You can show them that, and they love that. But we take it further and really tell them, hey, this is a concierge type service. We're calling your patients every month, monitoring them monthly. We are, coordinating their refills, coordinating appointments, coordinating their care, monitoring side effects. And we have an adherence coach that's calling them, a team of adherence coaches between pharmacists and technicians. And that's what really, they have no clue that you're doing that. They know they don't even know sometimes you're doing the packaging, but if they know that you're taking that extra layer and really going above and beyond, they're going to keep you in mind when they're seeing their patients, especially their challenging patients. And we tell the prescribers, send us your most challenging patients. We'll take them on and try to get them adherent, and usually do.
We know that adherence is important, but what about the financial side of this? Can you describe how adherence packaging has made a change to your pharmacy?
Yes, our volume of prescriptions has definitely gone up, and in turn, profit. As we know, not all prescriptions are profitable. So like she mentioned, you do have that time where you're going over their med list each month, and you have an opportunity to really focus in on more profitable alternatives for different prescriptions. Also, just in terms of workflow, I feel like we have been able to grow exponentially without hiring anybody because the decrease in the crazy. We get to control the crazy in our pharmacy a lot more because like Adam and I can be gone to this for 5 days, and they really don't have to touch a prescription that's going in a package because we've already done it. We did it last week. And we just are able to plan with our staff. And then also, we can work with minimal employees, which is great too. But the bottom line, the DIRs, it's real hard to notice on that. Supposedly they're better. But yes, the profit is there. The volume's definitely there because once the word gets out, it's really, you don't have to market it very much, really.
A show of hands if you have your patients on some type of adherence system, sync system. What is the biggest challenge to keeping your patient adherence? I want to hear from someone in the crowd. Put your hand up as to why aren't they staying adherent?
Maybe they didn't want to pay for the copay, or they had a side effect and they just didn't bother to mention it to their physician or to us. And if they're on our program, then we're calling them and asking them if they're taking their meds, if they're having any problems with any meds. But I would say that maybe just laziness too, just accidentally forgetting a dose or two, and instead of having that to look at.
I hear so many reasons from pharmacy owners as to why they're not adherent. And there's an aspect of this, and that is the consistency, the education being pulled back to the word that I used in the introduction, which was trust. And there's also another aspect, and that is keeping them healthy. Sometimes a pharmacist knows better than the patient themselves of what's going on with their diabetes or their hypertension. And supplements play into this. So I want to ask the team, just anyone, raise your hand. What are you doing with packaging in the world of keeping them adherent on their medication, but also the supplement?
So in Missouri, it's required that we have a prescription, but I can tell you that it's not holding our staff back. They're going after it. I set a goal for them to reach, we started with the Rapid Pack machine. Well, we were using a Dispill product before, and they were saying, this is so labor intensive, we got to do something different. Now we're at about 200 patients, and many of those individuals have supplements that we wouldn't have sold. They would have picked up online or at a large chain store, but we wouldn't have sold that without that. So that has been kind of tack on to the question that she had answered. I think that's been an increased revenue for us. And it's not like if they have specific. I had someone that brought us some stuff that was crazy, stuff that I'd never seen before. We had the ability to sit down with them, consult with them, found what they actually needed, which basically was, I think, a folic acid and like a vitamin B supplement of some sort. And we got them taken care of, and it was a very reasonable alternative for them. So, and one other thing, if you don't mind, when she was talking about decreasing the crazy, our store is much more organized now. It is absolutely so much more organized. And I will have to say that I stole MedSync ideas from Melody Savely and Dawn. My son worked there, and I will tell you that our store, although it's not always uncrazy because COVID's still around, I will tell you that we can walk in and feel relatively confident it's going to be a decent day. This packaging system is part of that. That's really changed our whole concept of how we look throughout each day. So,
Thomas, you mentioned coaching, and I think that there's an opportunity when you are coaching with that patient to build additional trust with additional products. Can you talk to us about your pharmacy and any of the supplements that you're using within the adherence packaging?
Sure, and we're having that conversation monthly with them, and so that's absolutely a chance to plug any of your services, including supplements, and there's no DR fees on supplements, obviously, and so you actually know what you're going to get paid, and you get paid right then, which is great. And so we try to figure out any chance we can get to, what can help this patient, and whether that's a supplement or a nutrient depletion type supplement, or it's flu season. Have you had your flu shot, Ms. Smith? And how are you doing mobility-wise? If we know something's happened to them, because we are keeping up with them. We know when they're going to the hospital, when they're coming back home, because we're following them, we're making notes on it. And so we did on the supplement thing, we started doing immune support MAC packs, and that honestly was getting us more branding than the prescription side of our packaging business, because people heard about it and they were desperate for something that made them feel more comfortable and safe during the pandemic, and so that opens the door for doing it with their prescriptions as well, and we can package any kind of supplement, and definitely seen an uptick on our OTC sales, because they're not always going to Walmart to try to find a better deal when they usually can find a good deal with us. They just don't realize it.
Easton.
Kind of like Thomas said, I want I want to jump at any opportunity to get our packs in somebody's hands. So this is not reserved for older people who just can't manage their medicines anymore. If you look on Instagram for any amount of time, there's lots of companies that are doing packaging supplements. So on our website, we actually have a questionnaire where they can come in, I don't know, maybe it's 10 questions or so, ask about their meds or supplements. Some of these people are not our current patients. Come straight to me. I make recommendations, usually just some core, to start out with, some core supplements. They get that in their hand and they're like, oh my gosh, can you do this for my mom? She goes to Walmart. Can you do this? So supplements are a great way to open the door and also serve all demographics. You know, again, it's not just reserved for older people. You can turn this into a trendy thing almost. You know, you're a busy mom. Hey, you don't have time to do all this. Let us do it for you.
Lisa and I have had conversations about marketing towards men's health, for example, and being able to build out a reputation within your community to really focus on what that means. Nitric oxide actually came up. Lisa, I wanted you to expand upon how you're using supplements and or coaching your clients and pharmacies to use supplements to increase their profits.
Supplements, I think, are so underutilized in independent pharmacy from both the clinical perspective and most definitely from a business perspective. There is no better place that patients should get supplement advice from than you guys. Like, we're the ones, we're the experts, we're the pharmacology experts, we know their prescriptions, we know how these supplement works, and there are some fantastic supplement companies out there, and they want to leverage independent pharmacies to grow their business. And if we do a good job helping them grow, then we get to like kind of keep these supplements and keep these opportunities. I'm a functional medicine junkie myself, so I am constantly reviewing the supplements out there. And one of the, I think, of the most fantastic supplements to come out lately is this nitric oxide supplement. It's a natural, helps replenish the enzymes. Who's over 40? Sorry, bad news, you're naturally declining in nitric oxide. Like, it just starts to happen. It's one more thing after 40. And so what does nitric oxide do? Let's think about it. It's a vasodilator, right? Who remembers? Vasodilation. So what does vasodilation help with? Blood pressure, right? Erectile dysfunction, diabetes, circulation, just in general health and wellness, getting, that good blood circulation flow. So how many of your patients have blood pressure, diabetes, erectile dysfunction? How many patients, when you've counseled them with Viagra or Levitra and you say, hey, are you getting full effect, or they're having to increase their dose, or they're getting it refilled multiple times, have that conversation with them, say, is it working like you expect? And they say, no, not really. I kind of was expecting some magic and it's not really happening. Like, it might be because of their nitric oxide. And so now you get to recommend the supplement. The supplement I'm talking about is from Berkeley Life Professionals, the one that I personally use and recommend. And it's the one that we sell in our pharmacies. And that comes with a great little test strip. So this is the thing, this is my functional medicine side coming in. But when you can test somebody at the counter and you can give them a yes or no, you need this. Because what I hear from a lot of pharmacists, and feel free to raise your hand, is you don't recommend a lot of supplements because you don't know, one, if they actually need it. Who feels that? Like, you don't actually know if you need a supplement. 2, you don't feel like you know about the supplement. Okay? And 3, you don't know if it's actually working. Like, it's usually one of those 3 reasons why pharmacists aren't recommending supplements. And so I tend to look for companies that help with all 3 of those. And Berkeley Life has this great little saliva test that basically tells your patient right away, are you low in nitric oxide or not? Because just because you're over 40 doesn't mean you're necessarily low. Chances are it's good. But test your patients like, oh, you need that. Do you have any of these symptoms? Yes, I do. Now I'm making a recommendation. Todd mentioned at the very beginning, trust. Your patients trust you. They will take action. It's amazing the percentage in my pharmacy in Texas. It's, I kind of have them, we're not keeping scientific results, but it's about 65-ish%, about 2/3 of the time, patients take our recommendation on the supplement. And then when you bundle it with packaging, they're like, oh yeah, just add it into my next thing. And they'll never go off of it. And they trust you, and it's time we leverage that for total health of our patients, but also total health of your business. Because as mentioned on this panel, it's cash-based revenue, which is what I'm all about. It's one of my pillars of profitability. No DIR fees. You don't have to worry about an audit. You don't have to worry about somebody coming in. You can sleep well at night that money's in your bank. So I love supplements and love it with the adherence packaging, because then you get that supplement filled every month and that cash revenue keeps coming in.
So it's one thing to invest in new technology, teach your team, teach your technicians, your pharmacists how to utilize the technology, have it become part of your workflow, have it become part of your operation. Jana, talk to me about marketing this. How do you get this messaging out to your community that this pack is different? And it's different than having to open up 6, 7, 8 containers separately and pour them into your hand and drop them all over the floor. Talk to me about that.
Well, we've tried some different methods. We started off marketing on Facebook, marketing within our store. We didn't make a lot of headway initially. We had about 75 patients already on packaging when we got our rapid pack, so of course we convert those, get some word of mouth, but we actually, RxSafe has a business transformation group, and we were in the first group. And one of the things that we did as part of that group is we sent a texting campaign to all of our patients. So back up a little bit. When we first got our robot, we thought, okay, we're going to go after new patients. We just want new patients because that's new. We need this many patients to pay for this robot. Well, that didn't work. And so we did this texting campaign to our existing patients who are non-adherent, and we got 100 patients in 5 weeks.
Wow.
And that is like instant cash flow. I mean, you already have these patients, yes, but they're filling what, 7 times a year, not 12? And so that was like the boost that we needed. And then your word of mouth starts to grow faster. It's amazing how when you get somebody on packaging, we've noticed that average patient has 9 to 10 meds. Well, patients not on packaging have about 3.5. Well, do they really have 3.5, or they just don't take it enough? And so that's their average. So it's amazing how much more profitable a packaging patient, they're almost double the profit of a regular patient is what we found in our store.
What about marketing to your physician partnerships? What about marketing to nurse practitioners that you might know in the community? Can you kind of expand upon how you're doing that with your physicians in your community?
Yeah, so we actually started using our machine as COVID was starting. So it was a little challenging to get into some of the physicians' offices, but we did contact a few home healthcare agencies. And I will tell you, they were very receptive to what we had to say. And we were able to get a lot of referrals off of just the home health care. But I do have physicians, of course, that I talk to on a regular basis. And I had my marketing person just bring some packaging over to them, even though we can't really formally visit with them. And then I'm getting phone calls. Okay, what is this all about? Tell me more what you're doing. And then explained all the things that these guys were talking about. We make the monthly phone calls. We're double checking. We had, this happens so often that, people are taking their levothyroxine with all their medicines at the end of the day instead of taking it first thing in the morning. And they didn't even realize they were supposed to do that, even though we tell them that when they were getting it in the bottle. But now we actually have a pack that says, take this one in the morning. So if they still take it at night, there's not a whole lot I can do about that, I guess. But I will say that we have had so many compliments from our local prescribers and even a lot of out-of-town prescribers that are very excited about the opportunity for their patients to be adherent to their medications and know that we're watching over. And then if we see an issue, we pick up the phone and we call them, and they're like, wow, because many of them aren't getting their haven't been getting their doctor's visits in as often as they should because of the pandemic or other situations that may be affecting them personally. So I can tell you that local prescribers, nurse practitioners, physicians, home health care agencies, I've even had hospices and some of our long-term care facilities are very interested in what this packaging can do for their patients and the positive things that it can do. So,
what are you doing to set yourself?
Ours is mainly home health. I do visit doctors some, but home health, you go once, you give them several boxes with candy in them. We got some of the smaller boxes. There's several different sizes, but yeah, some of the smaller boxes just fill them with candy. They show them to their patients, then we take them to the home health nurses. We have one, I grew up about an hour away from where our pharmacy is, And the home health nurse there has just taken on to it. The pharmacy there isn't very forward thinking. And so they just send us a lot of patients. So we ended up starting to deliver once a month within 100 miles. We've synchronized all those patients to 1 week. And so we have probably 50 that we deliver to about an hour away from our town, because that one home health nurse found out about it. They don't get paid to set up the pill planners anymore, but that's something that's expected for most of their patients. They have a lot of trouble with that, and so they, it's a free. We offer it for free, so it's a free service that they just get taken care of a lot better, and we bring it to their house once a month. So the home health nurses really like that, because we're all there to help them stay home, and so that's one way they can do it.
So I've already heard Lisa's answer to this question, so I want Easton to answer this question instead, and that is the concept of return on investment. You're a pharmacy owner. You can't be spending money unless you know that there's going to be some type of return on your investment within a period of time, so that you can back up at the end of the year and look at your P&L and say, okay, this purchase made sense. So talk about the return on investment.
Well, it's already been brought up once, For one thing, your existing patients, they're filling their medicines more. So if they're filling it 7 or 8 times a year, they're filling it 12 times a year now. So there's part of it there without even landing your first new patient whatsoever. So that's a big deal in itself. And for us, we were the first in our area to have any kind of technology like this. So we've definitely been able to acquire lots of new patients because of it as well.
Jana, what about that 100 new patients that you brought on? What does that mean to the bottom line within a year's time of it being a complete 100 patients?
Well, it brings a lot to the bottom line. People have asked me, what does this cost? How do you afford it? You need 30 new patients, basically. That's what they'll tell you when you buy it. You need 30 patients. The average patient takes 10 medicines, $10 profit per prescription, $3,000 a month. There's your payment. So it doesn't take long to get there. Even when you're using existing patients, even if you say, well, it's twice as many because I was already filling part of their stuff, it doesn't take any time. And, that was a big concern. When I said in the middle of a pandemic, hey, Randy, can we buy this robot? He's like, what are you thinking? We cannot spend any money. And I'm like, no, but look, this is how you pay for it. And, Bill has it figured out. He explains it to you in terms you can understand. And then you're like, well, how can I not have it? My patients need this. I need to grow my business. I need to further differentiate myself from my competition. It's a no-brainer, really.
We were spending so much money on this bill with our labor, and Jana did all the calculations, and we were going to save $1,500 a month, which was crazy, when we moved to Pack My Meds.
And also something for Tracy and I that we've seen was we had gotten to a threshold where we were using this bill as well, and we had gotten to a threshold where we couldn't safely take on more people, packaging them by hand with the space that we had and the staff that we had. When you get a machine like this and you're able to look at every pouch on the screen and verify it, and you're certain that every pouch has the right pills in it, the right pills, the right number of pills, all the pouches are there, there's nothing in there that's crushed. That's huge for patient safety from a liability perspective and for doing right by your patient. So you can really do a lot with the same staff you have, or maybe less, depending on how many people you're hand carting. Then you can sleep a lot better at night. I know I slept a whole lot better at night after we bought the machine, that the right pills are in the right pouch every time for the patient, and they're getting what they're supposed to get.
Thank you. What about real estate? You guys don't have a lot of room, I can imagine, in your pharmacy. Thomas, talk about implementation of this system and the ability to integrate it into your existing pharmacy space that you had.
Yeah, so we had actually added on a little bit of, we're in an old pharmacy. We've been there since 1901 in the same building, Main Street Pharmacy, long and narrow, so it's not a ton of great space. We had added on an office before we were even thinking about buying the robot. but we put in a space where we thought we would try to put something, and then next thing you know, we bought a robot and put it in there. And but it really does not need much space. I mean, 5, 6 feet for the entire setup. You know, ours is as tight as it can be, but you can really fit it in any area if you try hard enough. If you shift some stuff around, it's got a small footprint, which is one of the reasons we, wanted to go with this system. And it worked out that we had the space, but I think I would have found the space no matter what, even if I didn't have it before.
I've noticed a community within a community, and that is independent community pharmacists look out for each other. And Bill and that RxSafe team, that's exactly what they're doing, is they're building these pockets of experts about medication adherence, medication packaging, and then they're teaming you up with pharmacists who are a little bit ahead of you in the implementation of this and being able to market it, being able to afford it, answering questions, taking away mitigating as much of that risk as you can because of the pressures that you're under as a community pharmacy owner. Put your hands up if you're under pressure as a community pharmacy owner. Look, yes?
Does anybody charge for this service? Charge the patient?
Anyone charging for the service?
I honestly think, Melody, that our return on investment through supplement sales and increased adherence with the number of fills that we're able to gain every year more than pays for the... And to be honest with you, we did a calculation, and it's not much more than what we paid to put it in bottles. When you consider the labor involved with it. I mean, we've taken our... just talking about the real estate. Sorry, I'm just sitting here thinking about all the questions, and I want to bring that back. Because we had a small little area, you saw our area when you came to our store, but I can tell you we've grown that area now. We ended up putting more cabinets in. It's not perfect, but it is a medication adherence, med sync, packaging area, and that team works together. And there's just a few of them, and they work hard, and they come cover our lunches and we're right next. We're in the same building. We're just in the next room. So we were able to figure the cost would pretty much negate themselves with that, based upon the fact that all these other things would help make up for it. So I could be wrong, but that's just my thoughts. So.
Consideration for payers in that arena, though.
Yeah.
It is more valuable to them.
Absolutely.
For patient safety and everything.
Mm. So what he said was he would consider talking to payers about adding this as an incentive payment to us for offering this type of service, which I totally agree. I think it's worth at least $50 a pack, right?
Yeah. For sure.
What about the aspect of communication with family members, with those that are a little bit more fragile, because you can't hand this box to someone who has dementia or has real issues? What kind of communication, what kind of PDF or literature are you able to supply to a family member to get them to coach them on adherence packaging?
We have one that is very confused, and we actually highlight him. Take it back. There's a sun on the morning one, so she can recognize the morning one by the sun, and a moon on the nighttime one. We go ahead and highlight, because we did use another packaging system before that had color. So you just do what you have to do to help them. It can be used for anybody. It really does simplify things, but there's a moon on the morning and a sun on the morning and a moon on the night. So it's very simple, but we do sit down with them the first time if they have questions or anything like that.
I'm a big technology nerd, Jenna, but technology can be great, but if you don't have a team supporting you, it's hard. It's not impossible, but can you describe a customer service relationship that you have with RxSafe?
It's pretty amazing. In pharmacy, we try so many different things, and we deal with so many different companies, and it's not always great. you know. But I have to say, they're not just concerned about how you use their products. I mean, they have great customer support, obviously, but just this business transformation side of RxSafe that a lot of people don't even know exists, they're working on growing your whole thing. Like, they're working on you, do you really understand what your payroll is? You know, do you know how much it costs per script? I was like, no. Well, you should. Here's how you figure it out. You know, or the whole, you know, how are we going to market supplements? How are we going to start doing these consultations? It's just been a really good experience from the very beginning. They're really looking out for your whole business, not just wanting to sell you a robot and then see you later.
I want Lisa to just take what Janet just said and put it into my favorite synonym with Lisa, which is KPIs, key performance indicators. That's who I think of when I hear that expression. Can you kind of fold that into the data and the analysis that you're doing for your clients and other pharmacy owners?
Yeah, KPIs I can talk about for hours. I mean, to me, the profit's in the data. And if you understand your KPIs and your benchmarks, then you know exactly what you need to focus on. So exactly like payroll and some of these other key performance indicators, that's why they're called those, is they're essential to your business. And the thing that I love about leveraging technology in general, you know, my very first pharmacy was in California, and the rules there with like technicians and things like that are much stricter than a lot of your other states. I hear in a lot of your states you can have like 6 technicians per pharmacist and all these kinds of things. We were allowed 1. And so I leveraged technology and had to adopt technology because that's what we had to do. But really, if you understand the technology and how something like this works, you understand the impact on your KPIs. So you're not increasing your fixed costs. You're not paying more rent because you get a machine. You're not paying, you know, more electricity. Well, you might pay a little more electricity, but it's teeny tiny. You're not paying more liability insurance on your building or things like that. Like, your fixed costs are not increasing. You might have small operational costs like electricity and things like that, but your profit, so much more the margin that you create goes directly to profit because you've already covered all of your costs. Your regular business that you already have is covering your costs. So when you do things like this, it incrementally adds so much more profit to your bottom line every extra dollar that you get because, again, your costs are already covered. And so that's why all these people, when they talk about get more from your current customers, like that's one of the quickest ways to grow your pharmacy is to get more from your current customers and then add on new customers. But yes, the KPIs are magic. And when I help pharmacies and I see their financials and I take them through the process of pre-technology and post-technology, I love the black and white. And I get to show those pharmacies the exact how much money that they have made extra, how much net profit, because hello, that's what it's all about. Who wants more net profit at the end of the year, right? Like, yes, everybody should be raising their hand, you know, and so you get to tell them in black and white numbers because a lot of the things here are very intangible. Oh, my staff's happier, or my patients are happier, and you know, they're kind of just feelings and guts and instincts, but man, when you get to KPIs, it's black and white. There is no arguing those numbers, and I love working with pharmacies and having them go through that transformation. I love that word, and you can really see in black and white that this was a good financial decision, because you know, as pharmacists, we tend to make things clinically, and we have gone into debt and done all the kinds of things because of the clinical benefit, but the financial decision, you need to watch out for the financial health of your pharmacy, and it's really fun when you see black and white of how good of a financial decision that was.
Bill doesn't know I'm going to do this, but I want to ask him to come up here because I have some questions for Bill. Bill Holmes. I've known Bill now for about 5 years, and this man cannot stop thinking. If 100% of his customer base sent him an email that said everything is hunky-dory, everything's great, Bill would continue to try to think of what's next and what the innovation is. Bill, I want you to share with us some of the innovation. You started with a completely different company before you brought RxSafe to life. I want you to share with us what's next.
You got to get everybody to sign an NDA before you leave the room. You can do that. Well, what's really exciting about this show for us, and I'm so glad to be out talking to people, you know, we've been in business now in our 14th year at RxSafe. This is my 3rd successful startup company. And I love inventing things. But honestly, they're not my ideas. They're not. I have 160 patents. Not my ideas. They're your ideas. They really, really are. We figured it out the other day, about 22 trade shows a year for, let's say, 10 years, 220 trade shows. I talked to about 100 of you great folks at every show over a 2 to 3 day period. That's 20,000 interviews with pharmacy owners. I love it because every time I talk to someone, every time I do a demo or ask a question or someone asks, more importantly, me a question, I learn something. And I take all that stuff in my brain, I sit there on the airplane, and I think, wow, why don't we do that? Why don't we advance the state of this business? Why do we have to look at a booth, and we know these companies, you see them, they'll probably be out here on the floor today. 30 years, the same thing, the same product, the same way of singulating, the same failure to properly inspect or truly verify what we're giving our patients. And so we have 2 new products in our booth. One is an optical counting technology that counts pills and verifies them. That's new, including clear gel caps. And another is for those really difficult nursing homes that won't give up on blister cards. We've now taken our vision technology and made a blister card filler that can do 50,000 cards a month with a single operator. It's unparalleled in productivity. And, I think about this from why are we all here today? We're not here to learn about business. I love the business expertise that our panel has and how they've been able to excel and then provide better services to their community. But we're here because we're caregivers. I started this program a long time ago because my dad died with a med error. Broke my heart. My mom had passed away about 10 years before that. He was living alone, World War II veteran, didn't want to get help, didn't want to go in a home, wouldn't have someone coming in, just, I got it. Bill, I got it. Don't have to worry about me, I got it. He had wet AMD and low vision. He had a giant magnifying glass to do whatever he needed to do all day long. And there's those 12 pill vials in his bathroom along the sink that I'd see every time I go over there. And one day, Dad knocked him over, did his best to put the pills back in the right bottles, but didn't get it right. And he went in the hospital, was in the ICU for 6 months, and that was it. So if we'd have had this in his bathroom, he'd still be here. It's just that simple. And so I thank all of you for giving me the ideas to try to figure out a way that we can help people, because that's what we are. We're caregivers. But the business has to work too. And so people ask me, how many patients can a pharmacy do? How many of these boxes, these monthly boxes, can you do? And we've been, asking our customers, how many can you do? And I think of Ben McNabb in Eastland, Texas. I think of Janet. Janet is doing awesome. Ben is doing over 600 patients now with a single RxSafe rapid pack. And I thought that was pretty good. It is pretty good. But I checked with Paul Winger at Long-Term Care RX, LTCRX, Menominee Falls, Wisconsin, who was my first paying customer for a rapid pack years ago. They just bought their 3rd one last week, and I asked his technician, Amanda, I've been telling people they can do 50 of these boxes a day, a single technician, a single machine, a single shift, 50 of these a day. Is that still true? Is that accurate? Are you able to do that? And she told me, no. And I thought, oh my God, I've been telling people it could be 50. And she's telling me no. And then she quickly added, it's not 50, it's 80. 80 of these monthly boxes, 1 machine, 1 technician, 1 8-hour shift, with perfect accuracy and very little rework. Guys, that's why I do it. And so what's coming next is the next version of that. So thank you for helping me help you.
Thank you, Bill. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being community pharmacists. I know it's not easy. I listen to long-term care, specialty, community pharmacists. I listen to compounders. It's the community pharmacists that have it the roughest out of all of those settings, including the hospital pharmacists. Not saying that they don't have it rough. Everybody has their intricacies, but I just want to say thank you for what you're doing and what you're believing and being here at the National Community Pharmacists Association. And please, whatever we can do to help you, research for you, find ways of increasing your business. I'm so impressed with the RxSafe team and how much they truly care. They're in this business. This is what they do. They do this day in and day out, just as you do. And with that, I want to thank you for attending today's presentation. I want to thank Rexy, and please go see her in the booth. They have a mammoth booth down in the exhibit 2, actually. And please come visit and ask as many questions as you can. Any questions? Thank you. Thank you.